Hello and welcome to part 8 of the Bungalow tutorial series. This is David Ward. When last I left you, we had gotten most of the construction done on the house, and there's only a few things we have left as far as that goes. But we'll kind of work on that later as we get the materials and everything set up, which, speaking of, is what I would like to do next. So let me turn my screencast keys on there. And let's start with the interior. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this roof, and I'm going to hide it. And then this guy here, and hide it. And then, I guess the ceiling part also, and go ahead and hide that. Okay, so now we have the walls, the exterior, and the interior. And, you know, for right now, I'd like to hide everything but that. So I'm going to Shift H. That's going to hide everything except what's selected. So there we go. Okay, now I want to kind of unwrap this, the UV coordinates. I'll have to add some seams. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. Add the seams here on the corners of the exterior. I can just hold down Alt and click on that edge there. Add a seam. Do the same thing on this edge. Hold down Shift as well. Alt Shift click. And then on each of the four corners. Boom, 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 and boom. Okay, so we'll go and Control E and mark seams. Okay, and now the interior, I guess we'll have to do that on a corner of each room. Doesn't necessarily have to be all four corners, but let's just do it. Let's just pick one here. We'll do this one, and then maybe inside here we'll do this. Oops, this one. There we go. Go ahead and Control E, mark seam, and then let's go into the bathroom area here. Click on one of the edges here, about this one right there. If I can get it, there we go. Control E, mark seam, and then this bedroom. Here, Control E, mark seam, and then also I guess we'll need to do inside these closets as well. Control E, mark seams, and then inside this closet, mark the seam, and then the dining area, Control E, mark seam, kitchen area, Control E, mark the seam, and then finally the little hallway. Actually, there's two little hallway areas, I guess. We'll mark those, and then I'll just put it right on there. Control E, mark the seam. Okay, so now when we unwrap our UV coordinates, each one of these areas should unwrap nicely. Hopefully it will. Let's span this window out. Go to UV image editor in here, and now we'll tab over here, or not tab over here, but we're already in edit mode, so just hit A to select everything. I'm going to hit U, unwrap, and it's going to unwrap all of our UV coordinates, and it looks like everything is nicely laid out. We can separate the inside from the outside, because I want to use two different texture maps on that, because if we put everything in this texture map here, in order to get any amount of detail, it would have to be really big. Like, I usually go 2048 by 2048, and that would work, but like if you want a textured wall, like stucco or whatever on your walls, it won't look that great because it'll be kind of, you know, stretched out and pixelated, because the resolution isn't high enough. So I want to separate the exterior from the interior, and the way we do that is easy enough, because we separated the walls from the exterior. All we have to do now is just grab a vertex on the exterior area, Control L. Actually, I guess those are separate anyway, so we'll have to do that plus one of the walls, Control L. And then right now our selection set, it used to be set to where if you selected with a vertex and then Control, it selected all the attached vertices. But they've made some upgrades to the software. Now you can limit, or you can set the limit to what you want. So right now it's set to the seam, which is, obviously we have it divided there on the corners, but I want to say normals. So now it selects everything on the exterior. So what I can do in order to make this different and lay out better over here in our UV coordinates, if we go to our Object Data tab there, scroll down here, you can see our UV maps. Let's stretch that out a little bit. So I'm going to double click in here, and I'm going to name this UV map interior. Okay, and then I'm going to hit the plus sign, and I'm going to name this one UV map exterior. Okay, so the exterior is the one we want, and that's what we have selected now. So since that's selected and nothing else is, and I hit U, unwrap, it'll unwrap it a lot more nicely to fit in the area a lot better. Now I want to do some rearranging here because it's kind of just stacked in there, And I don't really like how it looks, so I'm going to set the margin up so it's a little bit of spacing in between. But I want to set the triangular areas there on tops of the walls where they will lie in the 3D spaces. So what I want to do, I believe this is probably the bathroom side, and if that is the case, where are we at here? That's the side there. Okay, the window needs to go up higher, so it looks like that's upside down. So I'm going to rotate that 180 degrees. Boom, there we go. And this is the side door area, so that's already set. It's all good. I'm going to Control L, move this over here out of the way for now. And now I need to figure out which one of these triangles is the one there over the bathroom. So since we're on this side here, I can select here. And actually, I can just select that face. Yeah, the face right there. Boom, and it's this one here. So we'll select all those, and then we'll select everything, just the exterior. So it's, which one was it, the upside down one? Yes, okay. So now select that, and then boom. And we can go Shift H, or excuse me, Shift H, there we go, I hit Shift J on accident, to hide the interior. So now all we have here is the exterior, so it'll be a little easier to work with. Okay, so this is the bathroom attic area. Rotate that 180 degrees. There we go. Move it down. Zoom in here. Let's make that full screen. There we go. Move that right there into place. That way our texture map can be tiled and it will be seamless across the transition there. Okay, so we'll do the same thing over here. Move that into place. Zoom in real good. Move that right there, overlapping just ever so slightly. Okay, so now we select that, move that back over here nicely. Okay, so actually, you tell you what, if we rearrange it just a bit, we might be able to get better use of the space. Move this up just a bit. I want to make everything a little bit bigger just so it can have more detail on the texture map. So we'll move that there. And they don't have to be lined up like this. I mean, to get a better layout, I can rotate this part 90 degrees. That's the back side of the house, so that'll fit there. And that'll give us some room to move this side down here, maybe, and then this side. And that could actually rotate 180 degrees, and that could be upside down. So everything could go a little bit bigger even. So we'll just make it about like so. Move that in right there, good. And maybe move this down and over just a bit, and then see if we can get this guy back on track there. Yeah, right inside there. There we go. This will be our exterior. All right, go ahead and save this. Okay, so that's our exterior UV map. Now let's rearrange the interior so it lays out a little bit better. So I'm going to go Alt-H over here now to unhide everything. And tell you what we can do, just to help in such occasions when we have to select the interior versus the exterior, we can set a vertex group. So let's go ahead and click that and just double click in here and say exterior, boom, and say assign. And then we will shift or Control I to invert our selection and create another vertex group and call this one interior and assign that there. So now we have everything in here. We just have an edit mode and nothing selected. Like, I don't want to have to select this vertex and blah, blah, blah. All that mess again. We can just go exterior, select, boom. There we go. And we can go ahead and hide it, get it out of the way. Okay, so now we have the interior, select, which doesn't matter because the only thing there. We can just hit A now. But in any case, make sure we're on the interior UV map. So boom, right there. And I'm going to U, unwrap again. And let's try this. Maybe this can rearrange it a little bit automatically. But if we go to pack islands, it'll pack it in there a little bit better. Average the scale. That doesn't change much because it's already scaled. But okay, so that can be our interior. Excuse me. Hopefully we won't need a lot of detail because it's just going to be just plain walls, maybe a little bit of a stucco texture. But if it's a tileable texture, this will be fine no matter what size it is because we can just tile that texture in there however many times we need to. But in any case, that'll work. So that's all set. The exterior is all set. Let's see. Let's go ahead and start building the exterior texture map. So I'm going to come in here, and I guess I need to paint it. Let's go ahead and just get the texture, as it were, or the texture that we're going to use first before we try to make it. So we can pop into Chrome here. There's a website I've used before that you might have used before, and it's called, or it was called, cgtextures.com. But they have since changed their name, and they are now just textures.com. It's still free and everything, and you can still join for free. Go ahead and log in here. I don't need to log in. I'll just I'll get the lower res versions. Now what I want to use, if we look back at our house, is just some siding. And I want to make it that nice yellow beach bungalow siding, the old 60s style. But I checked here before, and we can search for different texture maps. They don't have any siding. So I'm going to have to make one. So I'll just go wood and find a nice wood texture. And then we'll go into Photoshop and make it work. So maybe this one will work. Let's pop that over here. Okay, so this one is seamless. Let's see what it looks like there. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to let's go back. Let's go back. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I have to log in to download. So let's go ahead and log in. And if I can remember my password. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Okay, so now I can download the 1024 by 1024 for free for 1 credit. What is this? This is new. I have free credits. I think this is a per day or per week or something like that. You get different credits. It's a little different than it used to be. It used to be, you know, cgtextures.com, everything was free. I mean, the lower res ones were free. They didn't rely on credits at all, but in any case, we will save it. Actually, not sure where it saved it to. Hold on a second. Okay, we don't have to click on it. We can just right click, boom, save link as, and save it where it, well, it's wanting to save an HTML file. Anyways, just click on it, and then you can download it, and it'll download like so. So I'm going to open this with Adobe Photoshop. Boom, there we go. And this is already seamless, so I don't have to do anything to that, but I want to make it look like siding, and it kind of does almost already. But I would like to give this a layer style, so I'm going to double click on that layer, and then to turn it into a layer rather than just a background. Then double click again to bring up the layer styles. I'm going to put a color overlay on it, make it that nice orangey yellow, about like so, maybe a little paler. Maybe about right there. That'll be fine. And then on the blend mode, I'm going to change that to, excuse me, let's see what color does. Color, that actually works pretty well. Let's scroll through a few more. Maybe we can find a better one. Yeah, that one almost. That one, no. Let's just go with color. I can find it down here. Color. There we go. Okay, so that gives it the color I want, but it's still, the wood grain is a little too strong, so I'm going to go ahead and add in another layer, pink, and use my paint bucket to grab, let's see, let's get that exact yellow color. So just double click in here, copy that hex color there, and then I can use my foreground paint to paste that in there. There we go, in the paint bucket, and make sure I'm on my empty layer, click paint. Click and fill in with paint. So now we have our solid color that if I wanted to I can just lower the fill down like so, but I would like to give it a little bit more depth, which, you know, that might work. Soft light. Actually, that's kind of what I would like, but I want those shadows to be a little more, what's the word? A little more heavy, so they actually look like shadows rather than just dark orange. So I'm going to duplicate that original layer, drag that up, and let's mess with the brightness and contrast, see if we can't. And before we do that, let's kill that effect layer. There we go. Now, adjustments, brightness, contrast. Let's go to our legacy. Set the contrast and the brightness up. You know, probably what I'm going to have to end up doing, since that wood grain is just as dark as the shadows, let's just create a rectangle across here. Boom, that matches up with the boards, and I'm going to set the fill all the way to 0, and then I'm going to double click in here, and we're going to add in an inner shadow. Boom, like so, and set the blend mode to linear burn. I find does a little bit better than just that dark shadow, but set the distance a little further, and then maybe set that down. Okay, so since we're doing it this way, I can go ahead and get rid of that layer there. We don't need it. And as you can see, now we can put a shadow on top of each layer, like so. Just drag it up visually. Might need to make that one a little bigger. I see a little bit of mess right there. So a little bigger right there. Okay, so just drag this up on all of those that need to have a layer. You'd think with siding they'd actually be all the same size, so I'll tell you what, let's just do that. Let's make them all the same size no matter what, whether they're on the seam or not. Well, let's start with the bottom. Ah, what was that? V. There, down to the bottom. Kind of hard to see where the bottom of the shadow. Let's make it a little. There we go. Actually, see where I'm going with it. Now we got something going there. That one's a little bit too tall. There we go. This one. Now we have more than one. We can select all 4. That'll save us a little bit of work. Just drag that up there, and there we go. It's a little too harsh of a shadow, though. I think a little too harsh of an edge. So I'm going to grab this top one, and right now we have the inner shadow, which is inside here. If we set that distance down a little bit, we can get a little bit of an edge. Maybe leave the distance alone. Let's undo that. And then just maybe make the size of it a little bigger in the choke. Unfortunately, this is also affecting the sides of it, and I don't want that. I definitely want those to not have shadows on the side. So I'm going to grab all these other ones, all these guys, and scale them out like so, just to make sure. And now that we've got our top one set, I can hold down Alt and click and drag that shadow style to each one of these, and it'll apply it. Not sure which one I stopped with. That one, I guess. Okay. And there we go. Okay, so now we have a nice tileable siding. So I'm going to Alt-Control-Shift-S to save for web. And I'm going to save as, and we'll call this one yellow siding. Alright, go ahead and save that. Now we can minimize Photoshop and our picture and our Chrome. Come back in here. And now we'll come up to our materials, have our cube, our house walls selected there. We'll say new material, call this one exterior, and we'll go ahead and put siding on there. Boom. And now I can go to the texture panel, say new, and leave it as image or movie. Scroll that back up. Let's make this a little taller there. It's kind of hard working in this 720p space, but it's easier to record that way. But okay, we'll open up yellow siding. There we go. Open image, and the map, we want to use the exterior. So now if we turn this to material mode, you can see it on there, and it's mapping nicely for the most part. Well, that one we turn sideways, the back is not. So I guess we will need to actually go in here and select, I guess, unhide the exterior, and then vertex groups, select that. Okay, so this guy actually needs to turn sideways, so we'll turn that back. Rotate -90. Is that right? No, I think it needs to rotate the other way. There we go. Okay, so this will also need to rotate 180. You know, since it's a tiled texture, it doesn't really matter if they're overlapping or not. So we can just stuff everything in here on top of each other and it'll be fine. So there we go. Mostly. But in order to make that look a little bit more like siding rather than just a big image splashed across there, we come down over on our texture settings to I believe it's size. Yes, right now it's 111. I set it to 5 and 5, and the z-axis doesn't really matter because, as you can see, it doesn't really change anything. We're just going x and y coordinates, so just leave that at 1. No big deal. So there's the exterior. If we zoom in, we can really see it. I'd like to make it a little smaller, so let's try maybe 8 and 8. There we go. Look through our camera, and if we unhide everything, you can see now we have some siding on the side of our house. So that's looking pretty good. Okay, this part is running a little longer again than I wanted. I'm trying to keep them at 15 minutes. They seem to be going to 20 minutes. Maybe we'll have to change our tune and go to 20 minutes. But in any case, these are this is a nice tiled wall there with siding. It looks good color-wise, but I'd also like to give it a little bit of a texture, so it actually looks like boards on the wall rather than just, you know, painted on there. So what we can do is under here, under influence, also set that to normal, and that'll give it a nice texture. One might be a little bit too much, so if we just scale that down about like so. And it's probably too shiny, so we can go to our material settings there, set the intensity of the diffuse all the way up, set the specular intensity, it looks like 0.2 is probably good, and hardness of 50, that's probably fine. If we hit the P button, we can see what it'll look like in the game engine. Actually, we can't because we have to go to the game engine here. So now if we hit P, you can see it looks okay. Can't really do anything with it as of yet because I don't have any game controls set up, but we might get into that later once we get the whole house all set. But for now, we're trucking right along, over 23 minutes. Sorry for that. That's going to be it for part 8, and part 9 we'll get in and maybe add the siding onto this little area here, and then of course the interior. And we'll just keep working on the texture mapping and the materials. So that's going to be it for part 8. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in part 9.